a tight squeeze for you guys over there then.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. How are you all? Okay? Enjoy the film? Yeah? Cool. I'm going to wait till someone give me the nod, and if I can just get going with it. Yes, okay. Let me introduce who we have on stage with us tonight. We have Al Doyle, we have the incredible filmmakers Dylan and Will, and Mr. James Murphy with us as well.
Thanks very much.
And there's more. By the power of technology, fingers crossed, we can go live to New York, courtesy of Google Hangout, where we should be joined by... Are they there? Can you see them?
Hey.
Nancy, Pat, and Keith. Hey! Hey, Nancy! Hey, Keith.
Yay.
Where's Pat?
There.
Hello, James.
Hi, guys.
Pat's over there.
How are you?
Great.
Don't you love a delay? I'm going to start with you guys then. Pat, you're there. I want to ask you first, how's life been post LCD Soundsystem? Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's,
that's great. That's a great.
That's the answer.
Yeah. No comment. I'm going to start with you guys.
Pat, could you hear that was a question for you?
So I can sort of hear.
Yeah.
Yay, we've got you. I want to know how life's been post LCD Soundsystem, Pat.
It's been great. Tons of fun.
This is going to be a long night.
Will and Dylan, I've got to come at you guys first because I don't know, where do you start with this? I heard you guys say that this wasn't the film that you thought you were going to make. What did you think you were?
We definitely didn't want to make,
it.
James.
We wanted to make Big Mama's House 4.
What are you trying to say about James?
He wouldn't do the drag, so he said, how about I end my band for you? And we were like...
Yeah, it was a difficult decision because I didn't think the fat suit fit. I thought it didn't work. I thought it was... But Dylan was insistent, and I said the only way to get out of it was to end the band.
It's a brave move and step to make for...
Well, I mean, I was under contract for Big Mama's 4, so there really wasn't anything to do.
Serious.
Did you guys hear what's going on?
That like...
Mahoney!
The curse is going up his nose. It's like a bump of cocaine.
Well, these guys have just...
seriously, we met James in a really weird meeting where it was like us and we didn't really speak to each other.
Yeah, we had other people talking, being like...
We had a phone call day before, do you remember that? When we
No.
were chatting with Keith about, your manager about you know, what we could do with you in film and so on, and then about half an hour in you said, hi, it's James, I've been listening.
Oh yeah, on the call. I pretended I wasn't on the call.
Yeah.
And had they been saying stuff about you? Was it awkward?
It was awkward.
I tried to make it as awkward as possible.
Yeah.
But I guess that was a kind of, from seeing you guys out there and the kind of relationship you've got now, there's a kinship there, there's a like-mindedness.
You've got to pretend.
Yeah.
Got to pretend.
You got to put on a good face, good show.
Pretend and a fat
No,
suit.
of course we get along really well.
But it's a brave thing to do in terms of, you know, this is such an intimate kind of journey and something really personal and emotional for a lot of people. And to kind of penetrate that world but not influence it must have been quite a hard thing to do, you know, in terms of...
I think the fact that we didn't know James that well beforehand sort of helped in that sense, you know. I mean, we kind of got to know each other over a few months before.
We probably knew each other better during the editing process.
Yeah, exactly. So I think on the day of the show, we were kind of like, we knew each other, but we weren't like, you know, best friends at that point. We were in the way.
Yeah, we finally got to penetrate him during
Post-gig or pre-gig?
Post-gig,
Great.
yeah.
Everyone's happy.
He was a tough date.
These guys and people around the country who've just seen this film, I mean, the film really mixes that gig and tries to convey the emotion that was going on, not just on stage, but within that crowd sort of thing. And the process that you guys had to do that was different to how most gigs are filmed. Can you tell us a bit about that process?
Jesus,
I'll
absolutely
go for it.
not.
Go on. You had cameramen on stage in a kind of different way, which I think kind of. Really
I was what, sorry?
You weren't a cameraman, but there was cameramen on stage. They were part of the audience.
Yeah,
We didn't really see him.
I mean, our whole big thing with this was we went to Madison Square Garden on a scout about a month before we shot the gig.
With Keith?
With Keith, the manager, who's there somewhere.
He's there.
Hi, Keith.
Hey, Keith.
Keith.
You can click. What's going on? He's got clicked on, Keith. You got clicked on.
Oh, I did? Oh, my God. It feels terrible.
Keith, do you actually have that model of Madison Square Gardens? And if so, where is it?
It's actually exactly where it was on my desk in the movie.
You mean you haven't done anything incredible with it since?
You know, it's just stayed there. I was afraid to touch it, James.
In case you self-combust or just...
No, it's such a sacred object that one has to kind of leave it there, you know. It's so absurd.
It's like a shrine.
It is.
It's holding rubber bands.
Hey, Nancy. Nancy, I was just trying to talk to the guys about that whole, trying to portray that relationship between the band and the crowd, which I think came across so well in this film. How would you describe that relationship between LCD Soundsystem and their audience when they're playing at a gig, or when they were playing at a gig?
Here you go.
Hard to say. I think for the first probably 9.5 years of us playing, I didn't really look at the crowd. I think I did my best to ignore them.
We played for less than 9.5 years, so that means you never looked at the crowd.
Surely within the 4 hours of this Madison Square Gardens gig, you at least glanced up once.
Yeah. No, I mean, that gig was special, because it was, but also it was, there were a lot of people there. But I actually was able to see a lot of familiar faces. Like, I could recognize people in the crowd, surprisingly, so that was nice.
Really?
Comforting. Yeah.
Who'd you see? Oh, Ahmad.
Well, Ahmad was right at the front.
Who's Ahmad?
Ahmad is the guy in the front row that we had to actually have an Ahmad culling in the edit for the concert, because he was in the front row a lot. And
We kept cutting him in, and James kept saying,
that's too much Ahmad.
He has a mohawk and a North American Scum t-shirt.
He's a super fan.
He even has costume changes.
He had costume changes, yeah, he changed.
He might
Ahmad
have
is
had more
amazing.
costume changes than I did.
Yeah, he had, is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had an Ahmad culling and a Gunner dancing kind of.
And crying boy.
And crying, and
Yeah.
Were there more cheers than we saw?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We were a bit excessive, and James was...
Cut back on the tears, please.
That's enough. Yeah.
Too many tears. How is it, James, how has it been watching this film? I mean, I know you were really involved in especially the music mix of the final film stuff, really important to you, but how was it for you watching this back?
Well, I never saw it as a movie without having worked on it, which is pretty, I'm realizing is a dull answer, but true. Because people will be like, is it weird to see the movie? And I'm like, well, you know, I saw it in bits and pieces long before it was a movie, and is it weird to see it in front of people? Well, I got over the weirdness by seeing it in bits and pieces, you know, blah, blah, blah. Boring answer, but true. And that is it. No, it's a little strange. It's nerve-wracking to see in front of people as much as anybody who's ever, if you've ever walked into a house, this is dating me, and had left a message for a person on their answering machine, and then they press play, and then you hear your own insufferable voice being projected over a shitty speaker, then you have an idea of what it's like to watch a film of yourself, just magnified a lot. It's kind of awful. In some ways excruciating, because it's your giant head on a movie, and you're there, and you know the people looking at your giant head, and you have a giant head. And then you're talking, and you're drunk on the screen, and you're talking drunkenly, and you're saying annoying things.
In fact, the title of the film comes from a sequence very much.
The worst sequence in the film for me that I have to leave every time. The not introducing Arcade Fire for like 7.5 minutes, because we had a policy as a band. I have people to back me up, to not do dumb shit to make people cheer. what are you guys doing tonight? Like that type of shit. And I would do it as a joke sometimes, like, doesn't it suck when people do that? And then people would cheer, and I'd be like, you just get what you deserve, you fuckers. But so, like, I was at Lollapalooza, and I did say, I was like, don't you hate it when people do that? You know, you guys having a good time? And everyone went, yeah! Shit. Apparently you don't hate it. But so I realized that if I said, ladies and gentlemen, Arcade Fire, that everyone would cheer. And I was like, I don't want to do that, that sucks. Because then it looks like we brought in a band, but actually they're our friends because we want to tour with them, and I just got stuck. I was too drunk to think my way out of it. So I just kind of kept rambling for a long time, and that's where the film title comes from, because he did say, Wynn did say, shut up and play the hits.
It was like very liberating for the rest of the band, because we always want to tell him to just like be quiet.
Well, Pat always had an answer. Pat just start the songs. Yeah. I would just be like, anyway, another good thing is, and then Pat would just start playing the song, and I'd be like, ah. Have you ever seen Trading Places in the scene when Dan Aykroyd comes out and he's dressed as Santa Claus and he's pulling the salmon out through his beard to eat it? And I always think that that's kind of how I am on stage in the early days. And then Pat just starts playing. I'm trying to eat the salmon through my beard is when Pat would launch into a song.
Do you miss it?
Well, not yet.
Not the salmon, but...
Not yet. Not yet. Because I still see these, I mean, obviously, other than the fact that we all hate each other and acrimonious live on separate islands that we bought with all the millions of record sales. No, it doesn't make a difference yet, because this is the same normal time post-tour, pre-album. We're still in the, and we just go have dinner, and it's not that weird. So there's no enemy, you know. I mean, I'm enemies with Nancy, largely. Least terrifying tiny fist.
Al, have you got a lasting memory from that night at Madison Square Gardens? Is there a moment, or is there a song, or is there a...
Well, I remember Christina, the monitor person, telling us how
Christina Moon.
Yeah, how she found Courtney Love in the bathroom, like washing her. Was it like her jacket or her?
I thought you were going to say something completely different.
It was something a bit disgusting, and she thought, who's that old woman in the bathroom? And it was like, but it was like, because it was between the, it was between the kind of like, you know, we'd have a little break, and then she'd go, like, everybody go to the bathroom, and it was just like, she was genuinely, she came back and she seemed genuinely shaken and shocked, yeah. And there was like that, yeah, that was Courtney. It looked a bit like an older Courtney Love. It's like, yeah, that was Courtney Love kind of thing. It's just like. And so I sort of like went on stage with a kind of a mind's eye vision of what that would be, even though I hadn't seen it.
What was she washing? Sorry, I missed that.
She was washing something. This might be like Chinese whispers, but I think it was something intimate. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, well, if you can't love, that's
clothes
probably
or a body
a clothing thing. It wasn't a body thing. It was a clothing thing. Like, I don't know what it was.
Courtney Love washing her smalls.
Yeah, maybe a smalls.
Break of the.
I mean, I suppose, you know, you've got access to a sink. You might as well use it. Yeah.